Charlie realized Melba's underwear was too big and damaged. Embarrassed, he bought new ones. He invited Pollard and Melba to eat at Orvel's classical mansion. Charlie left them for a while to buy underwear in the right size. Melba changed in the restroom, relieved and grateful. Pollard didn't suspect anything. They ate leisurely, and Melba was now comfortable. Charlie intended to help the Watt family improve in Ores Hill.
Chapter 2731. However, because of Charlie's sharp hearing, that voice was like an elastic band breaking in front of his eyes. Therefore, he almost immediately realized that there was a problem with Melba's upper body un-3R wear. He was also wondering in his heart, what the hell is the quality of the clothes he bought is too low. But it shouldn't. Even if the quality is not good, at most it is detached from the thread. There is no reason to break. Quote, a possibility suddenly appeared in Charlie's mind, and he was shocked. He looked at Melba subconsciously and suddenly found that the curve of her upper body wrapped in the dress seemed to bulge a little in an instant. Could it be because of him that he bought a size too small for her? Charlie suddenly became aware of the key issues. He bought this dress, this is the high-end custom models, so very significant figure. In other words, wearing this suit, the strengths and weaknesses of the figure will be very obvious. Looking at the way Melba wore this dress before, he could see that there was really no capital in her figure, and he didn't dare to say that it was an airport, and it was no better than an airport. But looking at it now, it is obviously hilly. Which means that Melba's figure was actually not very predictable, and it was just hidden before. Combine with the muffled noise just now. Charlie immediately wanted to understand what happened, and he was also embarrassed. He kindly bought other people's internal and external clothes. He wanted to make things easier for her, but now it has not only caused a lot of trouble but also caused such a big embarrassment. Next, they have to go to the restaurant to eat. He can't just let Melba go like this. Thinking of this, Charlie sighed and thought to himself, hey, I did something wrong, but I should find a way to make up for it by myself. So, he didn't show it on his face. My car is parked below. Let's go to the hotel first. I have a personal business. It may be delayed for about 10 minutes. I also trouble Uncle and Melba to wait for me in the hotel for a while. Pollard smiled and said, it doesn't matter, you can just go busy yourself, if you have anything. I just don't have class in the afternoon, so I don't worry. Melba on the side, because she was ashamed to the extreme at this time, and was full of thoughts about what to do next, so she didn't hear what Charlie was talking about. She now wants to find a reason to withdraw first, and then hurriedly buy a fitting un-3R wear to change it. But she changed her mind, I can't say anything to go by myself. After all, I have such an embarrassing situation on my body. If someone sees it when I take a taxi or buy something, wouldn't it be shameful? I'll talk to Charlie first. Let's go to dinner with Dad. After the meal, go home with Dad. When I get home, I will patch up the broken piece with needle and thread, and then come out to buy a new one. Thinking of this, she walks behind them with fear in eyes at the same time. She couldn't help it. She looked left and right, for fear of being discovered by others at this time. Fortunately, the professors and faculty members of the school went to eat at noon, so they didn't meet other people along the way. Melba finally breathed a sigh of relief in the back seat of the car. Charlie was worried about making up for his mistake, so he drove while paying attention to the nearby shopping malls to see if there was a suitable place, so that Melba could have a new set. When he was about to reach Classical Mansion, he finally saw a comprehensive shopping mall next to it. On several huge billboards at the entrance of the mall, there was a brand of women's un-3R wear, seeing which he was relieved. At this moment, Melba also saw this billboard, and she couldn't help crying silently. If I could think of it like the super-powered person in the movie, and teleported to this store all of a sudden, buy a fitting one, put it on and then teleport back. As soon as the call was made, Orvel's voice came over, Master. What are your instructions? Charlie said, that's right, I want to invite a friend to dinner, so I want to ask you about noon in Classical Mansion. Is there a box? Orvel said without hesitation, Master, you can come directly to Classical Mansion. The diamond box has long been no longer waiting for guests. It has been reserved for you. You can go and sit at any time. Charlie said in surprise, Don't do that, your diamond box is so popular. If you don't treat guests from outside, the loss is not small. Orvel smiled and said seriously, Master, Orvel's life is all that you gave, what about a diamond box? As long as you need it, it doesn't matter if the entire classical mansion will not be open to guests. Charlie knew that Orvel was loyal to him and he was very eager to repay his kindness. Unexpectedly, this old man is so caring. He hasn't been to classical mansion for so long. He has been silently keeping the diamond box for him, and more importantly, before this, Orvel hadn't said a word. Having said that, this proves that he has not thought of using this kind of thing to cater to him, to appeal to him, but really out of consideration for him. Thinking of this, he couldn't help taking another high look at Orvel. Regardless of how Orvel has not studied much, he has an average level of education, but he is loyal and good at handling affairs. So, he smiled and said to Orvel, keeping the diamond box is enough. Classical mansion should treat the guests normally, otherwise, it will be full of waiters in the future, and it will seem to lose popularity. Orvel said hurriedly, Okay. Master, I understand. Charlie hummed, and then asked, What are you up to these days? Orvel respectfully replied, Recently, I have been busy with the expansion of the kennel. You asked to expand underground, so that it will be convenient for you to arrange and dispatch in the future. Okay. Charlie said with satisfaction, in this way, you should also come to Classical Mansion now, and I will introduce my two friends to you at noon. In the future, you will need to take care of them in Orris Hill. Orvel did not hesitate. He said, Okay master, then I will call the people in Classical Mansion, arrange the banquet first, and then rush over immediately. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Charlie said to Pollard and Melba, My friend has arranged it, let's go now. Pollard heard Charlie mentioning the word, Classical Mansion, on the phone, and couldn't help but ask, Charlie, this Classical Mansion seems to be Orris Hill's top food court run by someone named Orvel. Yes. Charlie nodded and smiled, it's Orvel. When you and Melba meet him just call him with that name. Pollard reminded with some worry, Charlie, I heard that Orvel is the head of the underground world. You should be careful when you come into contact with him. Charlie smiled slightly and said earnestly, Uncle, Orvel has now corrected the evil, and he will not do things he did in past. He used to bully others and bully the business world people. Not anymore. And under his influence, the entire Orris Hill underground world, they have all begun to do serious business. Now they are all starting to operate regular nightclubs, selling authentic drinks, opening security companies, building materials companies, and even construction companies. Some time ago, they also standardized the building materials industry in the city and eliminated all those building mafia and sand mafia. This has played a lot of positive effects on the people's living and working in Orris Hill, so you don't have to worry too much. Pollard nodded thoughtfully, and said, Listening to you, it seems that this is indeed the case. Orris Hill really rarely sees fierce struggles happening recently. Charlie knew that Pollard was a professor, and such senior intellectuals tended to have high self-esteem, so they must wear certain colored glasses when they look at people like Orvel. Fortunately, Pollard didn't entangle too much. After listening to Charlie's introduction, he let go of his inner entanglement. Charlie stood up and said to the father and daughter, Uncle, Melba, let's go. Pollard nodded and stood up. Melba on the side had been strangled long ago and couldn't wait. Want to stand up. Mainly sitting on the sofa, the feeling of being strangled is too uncomfortable. In fact, she wanted to stand up a long time ago, but Dad and Charlie were both sitting, and she didn't want to be stuck there like a fool, so she could only clench her teeth and insisted on not moving much. But she never dreamed that at the moment when she stood up, because the upward support force of her hands was a little too strong, she suddenly felt that the hook of the upper body un 3R wear behind her was instantly bounced off. The tight elastic band suddenly bounced back, causing Melba to scream in shock. Oh, Pollard hurriedly asked with concern, Melba, what's the matter with you? Melba's heart to die is now all over. How could she be ashamed to say that the hook of her personal clothing was actually stretched by itself? Such words are really hard to tell. Therefore, she can only bite the bullet and say, Dad, I'm fine, but I got up a bit too hard just now, so my head is a little dizzy. Pollard hurriedly supported her and asked with concern, How? Do you think it doesn't matter? If the problem is more serious, Dad will take you to the hospital. Melba quickly waved her hand and said, "No, no, no. It's all right now." As she said, she hurriedly put down her raised hand again, because the hook was broken. As long as she raised her arm, the UN3R wear was a little misaligned. If the movement was a little bit larger, the UN3R wear would be completely dislocated and unable to go back. Yes, that would be too embarrassing. Pollard breathed a sigh of relief, and said, "I guess you still haven't had a good rest. Take a good rest these 2 days, and make up for your energy." Melba can only follow his words and nod and say, "Okay Dad, I will." After speaking, she quickly looked at Charlie again, and she was a little relieved when she saw that Charlie was showing nothing unusual. It seems that in the embarrassment just now, neither father nor Charlie knows the truth of the matter. Otherwise, she really has nowhere to hide her embarrassment. Thinking of this, she was a little angry. Looking at Charlie, thought to herself, "Is this young lady's figure so unexpected to you? How could you buy me the smallest? The size deviation is so much, it is too much of torture." Although Charlie looks as stable as an old dog, his heart is already completely messed up. How keen are his senses? Just now, when from Melba he heard an unremarkable muffled noise, he immediately felt that something was not right. That sound was like the sound of a tight elastic band suddenly breaking. However, since the sound came from her clothes, when it came out, there was basically no volume that could be noticed. However, precisely because of Charlie's sharp hearing, that voice was like an elastic band breaking in front of his eyes. Therefore, he almost immediately realized that there was a problem with Melba's upper body in 3R wear. He was also wondering, what the hell is going on? Is it because the quality of the clothes I bought is too low? But it shouldn't be. Even if the quality is not good, at most it is the thread and the wire. There is no reason to break, right? Could it be? Charlie suddenly realized a possibility in his mind. He was taken aback. He subconsciously looked at Melba, and suddenly found that the curve of her upper body wrapped in the dress seemed to bulge a little m0 in an instant. Is it because the size he bought is too small? He suddenly realized the key to the problem. The dress he bought was originally a high-end customized dress, so it showed a good figure. In other words, wearing this suit, the strengths and weaknesses of the figure will be very obvious. Looking at the way Melba wore this dress before, he could see that there was really no capital in her figure, and he didn't dare to say that it was an airport, and it was no better than an airport. But looking at it now, it's obviously hills. This also means that Melba's figure is actually very predictable, it was only hidden before. Combined with the muffled noise just now, Charlie immediately wanted to understand what had happened. At this moment, he was also very embarrassed. He kindly bought other people's internal and external clothes. He wanted to be convenient for others, but what about now? Not only did it cause a lot of trouble to others, it even caused such a big embarrassment. Next, they have to go to the restaurant to eat. He can't let Melba go like this, right? Thinking of this, Charlie sighed inwardly, and thought to himself, hey. If you did something wrong, you should think of a way to make up for it yourself. So he spoke calmly and said, my car is parked below. Let's go to the hotel first. I have something personal. It may take about 10 minutes. I also trouble Uncle and Melba to wait for me in the hotel for a while. Pollard smiled and said, it doesn't matter, you can just go get busy if you have anything. I just don't have any class in the afternoon, so I'm not in a hurry. Melba on the side was ashamed to the extreme at this time, and she was full of thoughts about what to do next. She didn't hear what Charlie was talking about. She wanted to find a reason to withdraw first, and then hurriedly buy a fitting UN3R wear to change it. But she changed her mind. I can't say anything to go by myself now. After all, I have such an embarrassing situation. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to be seen by someone when I am taking a taxi or buying something? Hey, I'll go to dinner with Charlie and Dad first, and go home directly with Dad after the meal. After I get home, I will use needles and thread to patch up the broken one, and then come out to buy a new one. Thinking of this, she walked behind them in fear, and her eyes were uncontrollable. She looked left and right, for fear of being discovered by others at this time. Fortunately, the professors and faculty members of the school went to eat at noon, so no one else was encountered along the way. Melba finally breathed a sigh of relief until she sat in the back seat of the Rolls-Royce. Charlie was thinking about making up for his mistake, so he drove while paying attention to the nearby shopping mall to see if there was a suitable place, and later bought a new set for Melba. When he was approaching the restaurant, he finally saw a comprehensive shopping mall. On several huge billboards at the entrance of the mall, there was a brand of women's Oon 3R wear, seeing which he was relieved. At this moment, Melba also saw the billboard, and she couldn't help crying silently. Hey! If I were a super-powered person like in the movies, I'd teleport to this store all at once and buy one. Put it on and teleport back. When Charlie parked the car at the gate of Classic Mansion, Orvel had already arrived. As soon as Charlie came, he hurried over with the manager of the mansion and said respectfully, "Master, the diamond box has been arranged for you." Charlie nodded, pointing at Pollard beside him, and Melba, who just got off the car, said, "Orvel, let me introduce you. This is Professor Pollard Watt from Orris Hill University of Finance and Economics. The lady behind is Professor Watt's daughter, Miss Melba Watt." Orvel hurried forward, said politely, "Professor Watt and Miss Watt, I am Orvel, glad to meet the two." Pollard and Melba also politely nodded to Orvel. Charlie said at this time, "Mr. Orvel, if Professor Watt and Miss Watt need help in Orris Hill in the future, I must bother you more." Orvel said without delaying a word, "Master, don't worry. With these words from you, as long as Professor Watt and Miss Watt speak, Orvel will definitely go all out." Charlie nodded and said to him, "You first take Professor Watt and Miss Watt in, and arrange the food and drinks first. I have something to do and I am going out. I will be back in 10 minutes. After that, he said to Professor Watt, "Uncle, you go in with Melba, and I will come in a while." "Okay." Pollard nodded, and said, "Then let's go in and wait for you, don't worry on the road." "Okay." Charlie handed the father and daughter to Orvel, and hurriedly returned to the car, started the car, turned around, and went to pass by that mall. With the experience of buying Oon 3R wear in the morning, Charlie relaxed a lot this time. As soon as he entered the store, he asked the salesperson directly. Because the set in the morning was black, he bought a black upper B0 dye garment alone this time. As for the size, given that the body had been broken by Melba in the morning, he simply added 2 sizes and changed from a to circa. After buying the Oon 3R wear, he rushed back non-stop and parked the car again in front of Classic Mansion. When he was about to get off the car, he suddenly realized that he could not go directly to the box with the bag, otherwise, he would be seen by Pollard. When he arrives, he may still think that he is a hooligan. So he took the Oon 3R wear out of the bag, then folded it up and stuffed it into his pocket. Although the pockets are bulging, but fortunately no one would think that it contained a piece of female Oon 3R wear. At this time, Pollard and Melba were sitting and chatting in the diamond box. Pollard wanted to know the details of the kidnapping of his daughter in Syria, so he asked a lot of questions. Melba replied absently, but all her thoughts were about Oon 3R wear. It was the first time that she encountered such a dilemma. The disconnected Oon 3R wear was hanging crookedly inside the clothes. It felt so uncomfortable and awkward. At this moment, Charlie opened the door and walked in. Seeing Charlie, Melba felt even more irritable. It's not that she hates Charlie, it's mainly because Charlie bought her this set of Oon 3R wear, which really pitted her. The one underneath is extremely explicit, and you can endure it by gritting your teeth, but the one on the top, hey, really going to kill the popularity. Charlie also saw that Melba's expression was weird and guessed that she must be sure now it was very uncomfortable. Maybe she kept complaining about him, so he thought about finding a suitable opportunity to give her this new one from his pocket. However, this kind of thing must not be done in front of Pollard, otherwise, it might be how the old professor will misunderstand him. Seeing that Charlie was coming, Pollard greeted him to sit down beside him. The diamond box of Classic Mansion is the most luxurious one in the whole mansion. The huge round dining table can satisfy at least 20 people dining at the same time, so it looks a little deserted when 3 people sit. After Charlie sat down next to Pollard, Pollard looked at the opposite Melba and said, "Melba, there are only 3 of us. Why are you sitting so far away? Sit here." Melba said embarrassingly, "I will sit here. Here, with such a big table, it's awkward for 3 people to sit next to each other." Pollard shook his head helplessly, and said, "I don't insist, it's up to you." After that, He asked Charlie, Charlie, you can drink a cup. Charlie said with a smile, I'm fine, it depends on whether you still have to work in the afternoon. Pollard smiled. There is no class in the afternoon, so I plan to take a half-day vacation. The two will drink 2 glasses at noon, and then I will take Melba home to take a good rest. She finally came back, I can't leave her down and go to the park for jogging. Charlie nodded and said, indeed, Melba is here. She didn't suffer less for a while. She really has to take a good rest these 2 days. If that's the case, I will accompany you to drink 2 glasses at noon. I will have dinner later, and let Orvel drive you and Melba home. Pollard laughed and said, okay, let's have a few glasses open. At this moment, Orvel just opened the door and asked Charlie, Master, the cold dishes are ready, can I serve it first? Charlie was busy. He said, come on, 2 more bottles of motai by the way, I will accompany Professor Watt to drink 2 glasses. Okay. Orvel agreed without hesitation, and said, the hot dishes I will give you directly according to the specifications of the diamond box. It's all arranged. Charlie waved his hand. Don't be so extravagant, the dishes in your diamond box are for 20 people, and we are only 3. How can we finish eating so much? Pollard also hurriedly said, let's just eat whatever you want, but don't be too extravagant and wasteful. Now the whole country is promoting diligence and thrift. We have to respond to the call and put an end to waste. Charlie thought, Uncle, don't you go directly to the back kitchen to see? If you are interested, let the chef arrange it on the spot. The 3 of us, ordering 4 dishes and 1 soup is almost going to be sufficient. Pollard hurriedly said, no, this is me. I am not picky about eating. I can eat anything you like. Charlie smiled and said, it's true that I have a choice syndrome, so I still ask you to go and take a look and choose a few dishes. Orvel listened to the side. Confused, he thought to himself, what kind of medicine is sold in the gourd, master? If you want to order, can I just bring up the menu? Why did you let Professor Watt go to the back kitchen? What? Generally speaking, most restaurant back kitchens are forbidden for customers to visit, and Classic Mansion has never had this operation process. Just as he was wondering, he suddenly caught a glimpse of the face sitting opposite Charlie. However, Melba, who frowned slightly and had a sad expression, suddenly understood in his heart. It turns out that Master wanted to take this Professor Watt apart and stay alone with his daughter. Thinking of this, Orvel hurriedly said to Pollard, Professor Watt, you are Master's distinguished guest. Of course, you have to decide what to order. After he finished speaking, he directly made a gesture of inviting and said respectfully, Professor, please move to the back of the kitchen, I will introduce you to our specialty dishes in Classic Mansion. Pollard felt that his hospitality was difficult when he saw this, so he had to agree and said, okay, then I'll be more respectful than fate. Then, Pollard and Orvel left the box together. As soon as the 2 left, Charlie looked at Melba and spoke with a bit of embarrassment. Well, Melba, isn't the close-fitting clothes I bought for you in the morning inappropriate? Melba felt ashamed and angry when she heard this. Shameful, Charlie was embarrassed enough to buy her personal clothes, and now he asked about this directly face to face, which made her feel ashamed. What is annoying is, Charlie, what the hell is he buying? Either it was extremely revealing, or it was impossible to wear it at all. Now that the strap behind the upper body is still hanging on the body, it feels more uncomfortable and unbearable. However, Melba also knew that these were the unintentional mistakes of Charlie. Even if she was angry in her heart, she was not angry with him, not to mention that he had saved her life and was her savior. So, she could only bite the bullet and say, that's okay. Charlie asked subconsciously, are you sure it's okay? Have they all collapsed? Melba was extremely ashamed, and at the same time she asked in surprise, how do you know? Charlie said a little apologetically, this is really not the case. I bought it without thinking. I should have brought bigger ones but bought small. Quote. Melba turned red, she did not want to continue discussing this topic with Charlie. Charlie took out the Un 3R ware that he had just bought from his pocket at this time. He wanted to walk over and hand it to her, but felt that it would be weird to hold the Un 3R ware directly to others, so he put them on the dinner table. Pushing in front of her, he said in a somewhat embarrassing manner, this is a new purchase. I deliberately bought it 2 sizes larger. Would you like to go to the bathroom and change it now? Melba never dreamed that Charlie could even get it from his pocket, took out another piece of Un 3R wear. And what surprised her even more was that this Un 3R wear turned out to be the brand she saw when she was in the car. That means that Charlie said that he had something to do, but he actually went to buy me Un 3R wear. His thoughts coincided with me. Thinking of this, Melba was moved all of a sudden. She didn't expect Charlie to be so considerate. At this time, she was really embarrassed, and quickly grabbed the Un 3R wear Charlie pushed over, stood up, blushed and said, "Thank you, Mr. Wade." After speaking, she hurried to the box. In the bathroom, she took off the Un 3R wear that was a very inappropriate size at the fastest speed, and the marks of the joints on the back were very obvious. She couldn't wait to throw this Un 3R wear into the trash can, but a thought flashed in her mind, making her realize that this was the first Un 3R wear Charlie gave her and the first she had received in her life. A piece of Un 3R wear given by a man. So, she rolled up this Un 3R wear in a wicked manner and took it quietly. Afterwards, she took out the newly bought one by Charlie. This time, the size was indeed very suitable, which made her breathe a sigh of relief. The feeling before was like a size 40 foot, but walking all day in size 35 shoes. It is finally normal now. A few minutes later, when she came out of the bathroom, the whole person was in a complete state. Prior to this, she had been very cautious, did not dare to make any big moves, and her mood was even worse. But now, the size of this newly bought Un 3R wear by Charlie is very suitable. After changing it, all the negative feelings and emotions are instantly wiped out, making her a lot easier. After coming out, she clasped her changed clothes with her hands behind her back, for fear of being seen by Charlie. This was mainly because the Chanel dress that Charlie bought for her didn't have a pocket, so she didn't know where to put the dress, so she could only carry it on her back. Seeing Charlie, Melba said with some embarrassment, "Mr. Wade, thank you so much.